Hello, I am Tanya Rai, a former mentee of the award-winning mentoring program delivered by Rise, and I'm also a member of their advisory board. Today's guest is Tove Bonander, Strategic Product Manager at Red Bee Media, and she joins us from Stockholm in Sweden. Tove's product management career began in 2014 at a production company with a mission to help companies succeed on mobile platforms, where she first got a taste as working as a Scrum Master. She then worked for Accedo TV, Sweden's market-leading enabler of TV applications, before becoming head of product development at Nuvu TV. After a year there, Tove bagged herself a job as product manager at Red Bee and moved into her strategic role last May. She was also winner of the Product Innovation Award at the Rise 2020 Awards, which recognised the importance of revolution and invention for the broadcasting sector and for the future. Just wanted to let the audience know that there will be the opportunity to ask questions. So do pop your questions into the Q&A box. I'll keep an eye on those. I'm likely to ask them at the end, but if I do see a question that I think is pertinent to the conversation, then I will ask it. Right, Tove, hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. We were so pleased that you agreed to join us, particularly as you are a Rise Award winner. Let's get straight into the conversation and start it by talking around your career and what led you to the strategic role that you're in now. Now, I know I've already spoken a little bit about that in the introduction, but if you could just fill in the gaps, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. I have a degree in communication and marketing. And I studied at the Glasgow Caledonian University in Scotland. So I thought I was going to work in PR or marketing, but I got into wine. So I worked in the wine industry for some time, moved back to Sweden. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, but ended up in a CRM company in 2008. And that was the beginning of my tech journey. So as you can hear, I have a tech background, but I've been in this industry in the tech industry for quite some time. And in 2014, I joined a company, and that was my first app that we built for streaming service. So we did that for one of the operators here in Sweden, Stockholm. And then one thing just led to another. So I mean, I can relate to the product or the products that I've been building. I mean, who doesn't love media and TV and watching things through your phone or your smartphone device or smart TV or so, etc. So that's a little on the kind of background. So ended up in Red Bee through Accedo. I had my maternity leave for my second child, and then I was asked by the guys behind the app Nuvu if I wanted to join them, and I just saw that as a great opportunity. Unfortunately, the project was terminated, and the head of R&D asked me if I wanted to join him in the OTT world of Red Bee and become a product manager or product owner within his team. So, and that kind of led me to the strategic product management role that I have today. So, doors are opening, and then you just walk through them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to hear that you've had a kind of like a wiggly route to where you are now, and we'll talk more about that later on, because I did want to know more about the wine industry and how that transition actually took place, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah. You mentioned just now that you have studied in the UK, and I said in the introduction that you're based in Stockholm, so it sounds like you've always been based in Stockholm in terms of your career jobs, but you had a stint in the UK whilst you were studying in Glasgow, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I started actually off in Northern Ireland. My university at home here in Sweden had an exchange with a university in Northern Ireland. didn't really like my university here. So I took that as a great opportunity as a 21-year-old to see the world, see Northern Ireland. And so I took that. I also had Swedish friends in Glasgow. So that's the kind of reason why I moved to Glasgow after that. At that time, I didn't think that I was going to move back to Sweden. But I decided that I wanted to give it a try. So I said I was going to move home for a year, and now it's been 19 years or so. So I don't think I will be moving.
Oh, wow.
But I've always worked at, or not always, but I think one of the red threads within my full career has been the kind of global aspect. Always been kind of having customers or partners or other type of business relationships with outside of Sweden. And of course we're a big from an area perspective a quite a bit large country, but we're a very small population. And that kind of, I think that's probably the reason why we have to look outside of our own borders, so to speak. And I just really enjoyed working in companies that are more global than just looking at the industry here in Sweden.
Oh, brilliant.
So, yeah.
And whilst you're based in Stockholm, I mean, you've already alluded to the fact that actually the work you do is truly on a global scale. Can you explain what you do in your current role as strategic product manager and how you serve your customers, just to add a little bit of context?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I work for Red Bee Media. I don't know if you all know what Red Bee Media does, but we are a leading global media service company. So what we do is like we every day there are people around the globe that are enjoying and discovering content that we have either prepared or managed in some way, broadcasted or streamed. And I'm sitting in that kind of like streaming space of Red Bee Media. And as we have our headquarters in London, I'm sitting in Stockholm. We have one of our customers in Stockholm on the kind of more broadcasting side of the business. We also do a little bit of streaming for them. It's TV4. It's a large channel here in Sweden, a large broadcaster. But we have customers all over the globe. We have customers in the US, we have customers in the Middle East, we have customers in Africa. Some of you have probably seen our press release around the Oya Watch in Nigeria, streaming service over there with, I think they have like 78 channels available. We work with the customers in France and in UK and here in Sweden. So even though we're sitting here, our playground is the world, and that's just it's just great. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It's a exciting and varied role as well, I guess, because of the different countries that you serve too.
Exactly. Yeah. So as the strategic product manager, what is it that I do? I describe it as being the kind of like, that the person that's talking upwards and talking downwards. So I'm talking to developers, but I'm also talking to stakeholders. I'm talking to customers. I'm building partner relationships. I'm listening so much to what our end users, and I'm talking about our end users, it's not our end users, it's our customers' end users. But if our customers' end users are not successful, we are not successful because our customers are not successful. So we always have to have that little think around the end user. So our work is quite end user centric. So that is one of the things. And obviously as a product manager, I also do, where is the market heading? Why is the market heading that way? Should we build this feature? Why should we build this feature? And should we have a partnership with these ones? And why should we have it? And who's going to buy that? And, so it's all that. So it's a lot of, it's a big variety of things that I do in my day-to-day work. And I think that's why I like it, because it suits me. I like when things are changing. I like when things are moving, and it feels so I'm being like the like the communicator in all ways, and then kind of gather all that and try to match it into something, where we're heading and why, if that explains it.
Yes, yeah, it does. You're the glue that holds it all together, and the conduit for both the software developers and the stakeholders that you have. And when you say end user, I understand that to be the customer watching the services and using the app to watch the services. Is that right?
Yeah, so we tend to talk about our customers, and then we talk about the consumers, so the end consumer, the end user. So we are a business to business company, so we sell to customers, and our customers build apps that are or build solutions that are going towards the end consumer. So what you are holding in your hand. So one example is our customer TV 5 Monde. They wanted to build a call it a Netflix solution, sort of similar. And they had loads of great French content, and they wanted to put all of that content into one platform to serve this French-speaking market, which is global, as we know. And so they did. So they're running everything through us, and they built their front end, which is kind of very much, around there. But we are concerned about, obviously, we want their end users to have the best experience. So we need to make sure that, when the end user press play, the video is coming up flawlessly with the subtitles and audio files and everything around it.
Brilliant. It sounds very cool indeed. Very cool indeed. And did you always want to work in a technology-based role? I mean, I know that you never did work in a technology-based role before, but as a child, or when you were younger, was it always kind of this was the end game?
Oh no, I still don't know what the end game is. But I think no, I mean, as I said, when I studied, I thought I was going to work with communications in one way or another. Maybe I was like looking at, I wasn't really sure, but I like writing and I like communicating, and but for a reason or another, I ended up in the wine industry. I had an extra job at Oddbins during the time I was studying, so I worked at Oddbins, and there I found out that I actually had a really good sense of smell, and I had a pretty good nose, so I could taste and smell the wines in a. So I decided after I finished my degree to actually train and become a sommelier. And so I am trained as sommelier. Worked with a couple of wine importers here in Sweden for some time. But, as in any business, you can't just go around and try wine and, and, hold tastings all day. So the role that I had at the last company that I worked with was more kind of an event manager. And it basically just turned into being a project manager for different events that we had. Which and that company then decided that I was sitting in Stockholm. They were based in Skåne, in south of Sweden, the head office, and then they decided, now we don't really want to have someone in Stockholm any longer. And then I was like, okay, so should I continue in the wine industry? I had done some fairly cool things, and then a person around me, he said, why don't you, I mean, you worked as a project, you basically been a project manager. You call yourself an event manager, but you've been a project manager. And, good project managers are hard to come by. And so why don't you try to find a job in tech, in IT? I was like, no, I don't know anything. So I started to apply for a couple of jobs, and then I found a job at a CRM company, and they just really gambled on me. They took me in. They knew I knew nothing. I mean, the developers were talking about databases, and they were talking about some script. They were I didn't understand. But I ended up, I was there for well over 3 years, and it was a great experience. And I'm so happy that they really took that gamble, because that opened, so many doors for me. And this was in the beginning, in the early 10s. The iPhone had been on the market for a couple of years, and I was totally sold on that. So I said, I probably want to work as a project manager building mobile apps. I think this is really cool. So I ended up in a company doing that. So in 2011, we launched my first mobile app that I've been involved with. So it's 10 years anniversary this year.
Happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you. So that was a really cool experience. But and then I worked at a gaming company for a bit, Stardoll, at the time, 2011, 12, 13. I was working with them, and they were at the time the biggest kind of online community for girls. So I worked there as a production manager. And then I decided to go back into building mobile apps, and that's how I kind of got into the streaming side of the world, and the rest is history, I think.
Yeah, and what I think people can take away from your story there is the fact that an employer had faith in your ability, despite the fact that you didn't have this technological background and you didn't know how to speak the language that software developers speak. But you had the aptitude, and they could see that, the aptitude and the potential, and you've proven them right, that they made the right decision. And I think that's really important, isn't it, in terms of having those career champions and those people that believe in you.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to kind of say that, or to inspire others that you don't have to know. Like when you're 20, 23, 24, 25, or how old you ever are when you leave university, you don't know. The only thing you know is that you don't know. And I think that take the opportunities when you land them, even though they feel scary. If you ask my colleagues today, and if you would ask my colleagues from back then, I ask questions, and I want to learn, and I want to understand. I don't want to be a developer. I don't think I have that in me. I haven't given it a try, but I don't think I will. But I think what has taking me this far is that I'm willing to try to understand. And also I've learned with working with so many products and projects throughout my career, you get to know people, you get to know how developers and people around you are thinking, and then it's a little bit of trial and error, but that's how it is when you're working with people. It's always going to be like that. It's it's the kind of push and pull relationship that you constantly need. I suppose you need that in any role, but in this role I think it's really important. And I'm good at what I'm doing, and they are good at what they're doing, and we're coming together, and we're being a team, and we're moving towards the same targets. And I think that's important. Everyone's got like a piece of the machinery, but I think that if you are considering a career within tech and especially broadcasting, I think you should go for it, because it's fun, and it's so rewarding. Not only winning a reward, but an award, but it's fun. And I think if you just have the right attitude, and if you have the right people around you that believe in you, I think the sky is the limit. Or I tend to think that anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And was there any point where there were specific challenges that you had to overcome during your career at all? Anything where you just thought, oh, why did I end up getting into this, or I fell out of my depth, or was there anything like that happened?
I think I feel like that every time it's something new. I mean, especially moving from one industry, the wine industry, into IT and tech. I mean, obviously there was quite a few times that I was just like, why did I move? I mean, why I knew what I was doing over there. Now I am clueless. But I'm really glad that I, pushed through. And I think with everything, it's hard until you mastered. Like, I don't think I've mastered it, but I think, it's hard before you have come to that stage that you feel comfortable. And once you start to, well, when I'm starting to feel comfortable, then I want to get to learn something new. So I think that's, you have to have a little bit of, if you're not the developers or you want to get into this, you need to have that a little bit of hunger, I think.
Yes. And I wonder whether whether it was kind of male dominated as well. Is it like that in Sweden in terms of the software development industry? Because it has been the case in the UK, and things are changing, and there are many more women joining the tech industry. What was it like for you?
Yeah, very male dominated, but so was the wine industry. So I don't think I have really seen that much difference. But yes, it is very male dominated. I have another couple of product managers within Red Bee that are women. So I'm thankful for all my colleagues, of course, but especially extra thankful for the women. I mean, I'm talking quite often with my colleagues, and especially those in hiring positions, and to encouraging them to hire more women, because I think that a diverse workplace is better for everyone. I think it's better for everyone, and I really truly hope that we will not, that they will work harder towards it, and that I'm going to continue working towards it as well. But we know it's like, once you have a couple of women in the workplace, it's going to be easier to get. But if you don't have that many women, especially if there's like, you have one woman and she's like the product manager, and then all the others are guys. We have one female developer, though. I just want to say that in OTC, which is great. Yes. But I think if you have more, that will, more women will come. So you just need to kind of like open that door, and it takes a little bit of work. I think it's something that it does not come for free. So I think the hiring managers and recruiters have to work harder to find talented women.
Yes, yeah, indeed. And product management is actually a role very much in its infancy, really. It's not like at the time that you had done your degree and done your studies that you would have had aspirations to become a product manager, because the role didn't exist then when you were considering your career options, did it?
No, it didn't. But I suppose the role itself is already kind of, it's been around for as long as we, because every time you've been building something, you kind of need to look into, so what are we building, and for who are we building this, and why are we building it? Are we trying to create a demand here, or do we see that there's a piece of the puzzle missing? So I think it's just an evolution, like everything else, and now it's in technology, it's in, every company has their product managers, and they're doing their thing, and then everyone is complementing each other. But I don't think it's not that operational, the product management role, but it's also sitting very close to the people that are building the actual thing, that the vision that you have. So I think the focus on the target market and the audiences, and the maybe value proposition, and channels and segments and resources is always been there, as long as we've been doing some sort of building things. So I think it just has evolved, but it's always been there.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And when we were having our pre-session chat, we were talking about the fact that actually, oh yeah, when you had said that to me, it was like, oh yes, of course. that makes perfect sense. It's just that there has to be this way to define what that role is in the software development world. And that's the role that's been identified, as well as many others, since the software development has surged. Let's talk about your RISE 2020 award for product innovation. Congratulations once again, and very well deserved. And you won this award for your work on a streaming service that is accessible to all content creators and not just big brands. So can you tell us more about this, so that the audience has a better understanding of why you won this award? And to everyone who is joining us here today, I literally applauded Tove when I first heard this. I was like, yes, this is so cool.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Take it away. Tell us some more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so proud. I have the award like next to me. I see it every day.
Show the award. Let's have a look.
Yeah, it's here it is.
Yay.
Yeah, I mean, I was super happy with, you know, just the nomination, and then when I won, I didn't know if I was gonna cry or laugh. It was I did not expect that, because I was running up with some pretty talented women, I tell you. So the product innovation that we did might not be so much a product innovation. It is, but it still isn't. But so we have built this OTT platform, and it's built, OTT stands for over the top, for those who don't know. And it just basically, it's an old-fashioned term of video streaming over internet. And the service that we built was that we had everything in place. We had the whole machinery behind it. So you come with your content, you ingest it somewhere, like on YouTube. You can upload it on YouTube. So we have that functionality too, but in our platform. We do all the kind of machinery around that makes it OTT. So we transcode it and make sure that regardless where the end user, the consumer is, they will have a good image and good sound. So we don't care if it's on 3G or if, you know, really high-speed broadband at home. We do that machinery. We do, you can upload images and text. We call that metadata. And then you want to have this visualized somewhere. So we've also built a white label proposition, which means that we have several different platforms available kind of out of the box. And we have built an app management tool, which can just, you know, you put your content in a nice way so you can display it in a nice way. So we had as a plan to do this. It was already in our plan, and we said, oh, we're going to do that when we have time, and you know, and the whole thing with the pandemic, of course, kind of like catalyzed it. So what we did was just like we built the front end. We you know, we have the redbemedia.com. When you go into OTT, you can find it there, so people can sign up with a credit card and get their own OTT service launched. And this is obviously, yeah, you can do that with YouTube and others, but this is about, you know, building and owning your own brand at a very low cost, but also kind of at a broad, you know, the kind of broadcasting quality that we come with from Redbee. But we already had everything out of the box. So we said, well, why don't we just like put it out there for people to use? And it's a fairly big thing. You have to remember that Redbee Media is owned by Ericsson, so you know we got this big mothership behind us, which is amazing. But it's also like we do business to business. We don't do this. You don't pay with things for credit with a credit card. That's not kind of like in our DNA. But we were consistent, and we said like, hey, listen, we want to try this out. We want to see if there is a market, and we have everything here, so we might as well give it a shot. And I believe that it's the first self-service product within the Ericsson history. So yeah, so it's a pretty big deal within Redbee, and so I assume that's the reason. behind the Product Innovation Award.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
really pleased and happy with that.
Yeah, and when we were talking, I was just struck by the ease and accessibility of such a platform, as you say, at broadcast quality, where you can brand your own content as a creator, and you have full control over how you market yourself and publicize your brand in that way. And what also struck me when we spoke was you mentioned about DJs, the kinds of customers that have been using it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's brilliant as well, given the pandemic and DJs, their work had dried up because there were no live events. You were able to offer an alternative for them.
Yes, so the type of customers that kind of like have been using the self-service, they're quite used to do things themselves. They build their own websites, with Squarespace or another and other vendors, and they have their content, and they don't want to use YouTube or Facebook for a lot of reasons. And so one customer that we had was We Own the Night, or is We Own the Night. So it's a bunch of DJs from the Netherlands, and what they their whole market died. No one's going to clubs. It's a pandemic. So they just got a platform where they could put out all their content. They can monetize on it. So, you can have people paying with a credit card on our service, and that kind of comes out of the box. We have that. So there is a way for you. If you have great content, you probably, and great content might, if you have it and you know your users, they're going to find it, and you can market it. And I think we've seen a few examples of that this year. It's been really successful for a majority of them. So yeah, it's fun, and it's also cool to to have it out there. It's a great service.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. We should chat afterwards, and I'd like to find out the link and to look at it. Right, I just want to remind the audience that you have the option to ask questions to Tove, so do pop them in the Q&A box, and let me know. I've got a couple of more questions to ask, and then if there are any more from the audience, then please do make yourself known to me, and I'll ask the question on your behalf. Right, so let's talk about the RISE Product Innovation Award some more. So I know that you kind of showed it to us, and you alluded to the fact that you were really surprised that you were nominated, let alone won it. But what was it like when you first heard that you had been nominated, and then you went on to actually win? Talk me through that process a little bit, because I just think it's such an inspiring story of somebody that didn't work in tech, only joined tech in 2008, mobile app 10 years ago. And, after 10 years, you become an award-winning product manager.
I was the person who nominated me was my manager, or he still is my manager, Steve Russell, and he said, "By the way, I have nominated you." And then he didn't really say much more than that. He's like, "Just so you know, I've nominated you. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just wanted to let you know that I've done this." So I was like, "Okay, that was cool." And then someone from RISE, I think, emailed me and said, like, "Hey, by the way, you're one of the nominees. We're so we need a picture of you and etc." I was like, "Oh my god, all right, well, this is cool." So obviously quite chuffed about that, and super happy. Like, I was just, first of all, it's really nice to have a manager that thinks that you've done something really good, that he's like, putting it out there and like shouting to the world, like, this is someone I work with. and also I was very pleased with what I was nominated for, because it was obviously it's a team effort, of course, but I think what we brought to the world was really good, and also, you know, given what the company that we are, that we managed to pull through that was also super cool. But I attended the awards ceremony, and, you know, my family was sitting upstairs. We got a 2-story house, and they were sitting upstairs and watching it. And I was quite nervous, and you know, as you are, you don't think that you're going to win. And when I realized that I was the winner, because, you know, everyone else kind of disappeared from the Zoom chat, and I was like, it was only my face there. I was like, oh my God, I think I won. And, you know, hearing my family cheering at the same time as Carrie and you know, they were just presenting me. It's like, how do you feel? It's like my family is like cheering. My 4-year-old was crying because, you know, he was like, he didn't like the noise of everyone. And, you know, but it was, and my kid like ran down and he's like, "You won, Mom, you won." my older son. I was super happy. I did not expect it. I'm so happy, and, you know, I just wish everyone could have that feeling.
Yeah, I bet, and it was really lovely to see, because I was watching in the audience at home, and I know that people miss the glitz and glamour of an awards ceremony and being there in person, but actually the story that you've just recounted there is so lovely and moving, because, you know, would your family have been able to kind of be there in a face-to-face environment and cheer you on in the same way? Perhaps, but it's the fact that it's, you know, you find out in your own home, in your own environment, and with your son coming downstairs, I put my hand on my heart. Then it's
yeah, like, no, it was so, you know, all dressed up, makeup and everything, and then my slippers on.
That's the way to do it these days. That's the way to do it. Right. So actually, given we've talked a little bit about your children, I did want to spend just a little bit of time talking about the fact that you're a mother to a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old too, and just want to take the opportunity to celebrate women who work full-time and are mothers, because it's like having 2 full-time jobs. And, you know, even more kudos to those who have had to juggle homeschooling during the pandemic. And obviously, you know, I don't want to forget that there are single parent men as well out there that have had to do the same. So I don't want to say that we're not remembering them. We do. But I think because we're aiming this talk at young women in particular, and encouraging them to take up careers in broadcast technology, I did want to talk about motherhood, because I do wonder whether young women and girls make certain career choices around the fact that they want to become mothers one day. And I think it'd be good to dispel the myths that working in technology or having a successful career, generally speaking, means you know, doesn't mean that you have to forgo being a mum. You know, it's not easy, but it's doable. So can you talk about your experiences of having the career that you have and balancing being a mum?
Yeah, I mean, I can only talk about it from a Swedish perspective. Obviously, I live in Sweden. I have my children here, and you know, we pay quite a lot of taxes, but the kind of, in return, you know, we get a really generous and equal parental leave. We have our system, like our whole social system is built around 2 parents working. So daycare is subsidized a lot, so we don't pay a lot of money for that. School is free, and etc. etc. So, you know, we have all of those kind of like that, the society and you know, our government and the state is kind of like is taking care of a lot of that. But it still doesn't leave you, you know, when you are full-time, you're working 40 hours a week, and you don't spend that much time with your children because you're working full-time. Obviously, you're going to have this bad conscience, but I think me as a person would have that constantly. So I would have that regardless if I was working 20 hours a week, because I would always feel like I'm not doing anything. Well, both of it's not with the kind of like the I would still feel like, you know, I'm losing out, or I'm not losing out, that's the wrong word, but not doing my best, maybe, regardless if I'm, you know, Tove the mom or Tove the product manager. But for us, I think the success behind our story and my family story has been that we have had a very outspoken agreement between me and my husband from day one. So we have decided, both of us wanted, we had children. Our first child came when I was 30, turning 36. So I had already started my career, and so had my husband. So what we said was like, you know, if this is going to work out, we need to take, you know, if the kid is sick, we need to take every second day, so we're not losing out so much from work. Because one day you can be out to work, but you know, the next day. But if you're away for a week, you will miss so much, and that would just like eat you up with stress. So that was one of the decisions that we made, which has worked really, really well with our family. And the other thing was that, you know, when his career was progressing, I kind of took the back seat and took a little bit more kind of responsibility for the family. And now when things have shifted a little bit, he's taking more the backseat and letting me kind of, you know, progress my career in a sense. So, but I think that the success for us and has been that we have talked about it. We have talked so much about it, and I don't want to be the, you know, the kind of go into that kind of, you know, just because I'm the mother and just because I'm the woman, I earn less, and therefore I should take more of the, because of the family economy, and you know, so we have been very well, fairly equal, I would say, in a sense. But you know, it helps that you have we live in a country where we have a, you know, the backup system. But I think I don't think that should be the stopper for anyone to you know, make sure that you have the right network around you, and that can be done in many different ways. And for me personally, if I would not, you know, work full time, I don't think I would be as a good mom. So it's a give and take, I think. But I feel constantly guilty not being enough with my children or not doing enough at work.
Yeah, and I hear that's a common thread, you know, a common story that you hear, or common experience, I should say, with many full-time working mothers. And I just want to say thank you for being so open and honest there, and sharing actually, you know, quite personal things about how you manage your day to day. But I'm sure that the audience listening would appreciate that. So thank you. One final question I have for you is, what advice would you give to young women around working in a technology role in broadcast, especially if it's a career path that they've never considered before? I know you've touched on it earlier a little bit, but if you could add some more advice on that, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, if an opportunity rises, I think you should grab it, even though you don't have the knowledge, or, you know, if someone is saying that they're believing in you, you have to think that they are doing that with, you know, the honest intent. And the other thing is, don't ever stop asking questions. I think to be successful, and to, especially if you don't have an engineer background, you have to continue asking questions. You just have to be a little bit, you know, what are the questions that I'm asking? Am I learning? You know, and so you're not kind of like just repeating. But it's okay. I mean, I felt like the imposter for so many years. I think I saw a TED talk about like being the imposter, and I felt like, you know, should I really be like, should I be here? Like, but I think, you know, just embrace it. You are there for a reason. People want you there, and learn as much as you can. Just, you know, you don't have to ace it all. You don't need to know it all. You just ask, you know, you surround yourself with people that can help you. And by the end of the day, working in technology, it's a teamwork. So use that team to help you and them succeed.
Fantastic advice. Fantastic advice. Have a curious mind and teamwork. That's great stuff. Right, we haven't had any questions come through, but we have had some a couple of lovely comments. So, oh, Alice wished us a good afternoon at the start. Sorry, Alice, I missed that. But yes, thank you very much. Fernanda had to drop off earlier, but it, said that it was a really inspiring conversation. Thank you, Tove and the Rise team. Thanks for that, Fernanda, if you end up watching back. And Ragda says, go, Tove. And I think she was talking. She said that at the point that you were talking about being a mum. So that's really lovely. There aren't any questions that have come through, so that's going to be the end of our conversation. Tove, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, such an inspiring woman and an inspiring story, and I'm absolutely sure that the audience that watch this back on YouTube and any of the young women that do watch this, or men, anyone who watches this are going to find it a fascinating conversation. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me, and thanks for the award.
You're welcome.
Okay.